If you were a teenager, as I was in late 1982, November 1982 to be exact, you might have walked into your local arcade or pinball joint expecting to have a round of Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Space Invaders, or Tron, only to be stopped in your tracks by a brand new game based on a certain spinach-guzzling, uneducated, one-eyed sailor by the name of, you got it, Popeye. So back to me walking into Long John Silver's arcade in late 82, and there it is. Popeye by Nintendo. Baby blue cabinet with the eye-poppin' logo, and the sharp, crisp cartoon-like graphics made it stand out instantly against the darker arcade cabs at the time. Even today, Popeye the arcade game's graphics look sharp and impressive. Popeye, although somewhat thematically similar in design to Donkey Kong, the rescue the damsel and all that stuff, felt very different in terms of gameplay. Donkey Kong's levels had the illusion of an open road adventure, where Jumpman could avoid some hazards and areas altogether if he needed to, while Popeye's felt more claustrophobic with their hero trapped with Brutus in a locked cage match. He could move about, but danger lurked with every step that he took. On the first stage, the dock scene, Popeye must catch the 24 hearts that Olive tosses his way while avoiding Brutus, who can jump at Popeye from below or swipe at him from above or even jump down to his level. Even though Popeye can punch projectiles like bottles and skulls, he's powerless against Brutus unless he gets to the one can of teleporting spinach on this level, which then grants him some short-term invincibility and also conveniently removes any active projectiles from the stage at the time. And while you're in the mood to punch things, don't forget to use proper timing to punch the bag, which knocks a bucket on Brutus's head, grounding some downtime from Brutus's menacing demeanor. Collect all 24 hearts and you'll advance to the street scene where Wimpy and Sweepy make their appearance in this game. Jump on Wimpy's lower level seesaw to bounce up to Sweepy and time it right for some bonus points. This stage feels a little tighter with less places to hide from Brutus, but thankfully the spinach doesn't pull its teleporting act here. Collect the 16 musical notes that Olive throws to you, and you'll be on your way to the third stage in no time. Popeye's ship level adds more danger in the form of buzzards that will swoop in from the left, but KO them for a sweet 1,000-point bonus. Collect all of Olive's help letters, 24 in total, which builds a ladder for you to climb and finally save Miss Oil. Once you succeed, you'll make your way back to the dock level where the sea hag has parked her carcass permanently in the upper right corner, tossing bouncing skulls at Popeye, and she remains a permanent fixture in the game from that point forward on all levels. And you'll notice as you advance to more levels, the spinach invincibility time increases exponentially. Thanks to technology today, we can try all the different versions of Popeye that were available in the 80s. So let's go and have a look. In my personal quest to play the perfect game of Popeye at home when I was a kid, I owned 3 different versions: Intellivision, Coleco, and what you're looking at now, the Atari VCS or 2600. At a first glance, well, the Atari version isn't too bad. The graphics are obviously scaled down, the music is perfect, and it doesn't take too much imagination to see Popeye and Olive, but you'll have to stretch it with that pixel blob version of Brutus there. You have 20 hearts to collect instead of the arcade's 24, and while the sea hag doesn't make an appearance, her wine bottles do. While Popeye's punching animation is virtually non-existent, the generous hit detection grants Popeye a few pixels in front of him so you can punch almost a second before a bottle will make contact. And just like the arcade version, if you don't make it down and pick up that heart before it drops in the water, you're dead. The first stage of the Atari game at least resembled the arcade. The second level takes all the liberties and looks nothing like the city level. Seemed like it would have been pretty easy to replicate, but what do I know? At the very least, it features 2 trampolines on either side to bounce Popeye up, and once this screen is beaten, you're back to the first stage again. Parker Brothers presents Popeye, the Insurance Seminar. I sure hope the money they saved on the title screen went into making sure that the music kept playing no matter what. Uh-oh. Not only does the music start over again anytime another sound effect plays, but it's actually incorrect. There's a couple of minor notes thrown in there that are totally wrong. Probably thought you wouldn't get that far without triggering another sound effect to actually hear it. But listen. You do manage to get to the second level of Popeye without being driven crazy by that music. You'll notice that it looks a lot like the street scene of Popeye the Arcade. Except there is no Wimpy, there's no Sweepy, the spinach happens to move between levels, and playing the role of the Sea Hag is the dragon from Atari's Adventure. While the Intellivision version of Popeye gives you all 3 levels from the arcade, you have to deal with a lot of flicker, touchy controls, and really bad music. So, you might have Popeye at home, but at what cost to your mental health? I don't like the way they rushed those 2 notes in that theme song. It always bugged me. Now that I've shown you the Atari and the Intellivision versions I owned, here's the ColecoVision Popeye. Can you guess which one was my favorite? That's right, it's the ColecoVision version. I don't know when this turned into Dora the Explorer. Okay, I'll quit asking you guys questions. So this version had its problems. I mean, is this a Popeye game? Or is that Marcus from Mike Tyson Mysteries? Why is he all white? Is he a ghost? And then you got Brutus running around with his mouth open like he's lobotomized. And then get a glimpse of olive oil. Yama hama, it's Fright Night. You get the 3 levels from the arcade here, and they actually look very good. And you're offered 3 difficulty levels, with the 3rd being the closest to the arcade, where Brutus is a little more aggressive and throws 4 beer bottles at you instead of 2 and 3 on the other levels. His AI is still pretty bad, though, and if he jumps down towards you, it's so slow, it's barely a threat. He'll probably get you if he jumps up, it's a little faster, but he's really just, kind of dumb. He'll just wander and then stop and then look around like he totally forgot what he's supposed to be doing. The Atari 5200 version of Popeye is a very strong entry, and I was sad there was never a 7800 version, which probably would have been awesome, but oh well. The graphics are pretty good for the time, but for some reason the color black is washed out on the first level compared to Stage 2 Street Scene. Music and sound effects are bang on, all 3 levels are expertly represented, and the challenge is quite high. In fact, it's harder than the arcade version on its normal setting due to the timing of the bottles versus the timing of Popeye's lightning-fast punching animation. You really have to learn that rhythm. Going up and down stairs in this game is easy, but ladders are definitely finicky. You have to be positioned 100% properly to go up or down a ladder, which usually means screaming hot death if you're off by a pixel. Once you get to the ship stage, you'll notice the buzzards are set on kamikaze, and that moving floor section whips you across very quickly, much faster than the arcade version. All in all, pretty damn good, and very similar in look and feel to the Atari 8-bit version. Now here's something you don't see every day. Popeye in the Commodore 64 version can move while the theme song plays. And then this guy immediately hulks out, and he does, he's all green. And he punches Brutus, Brutus goes flying, then he hits the bucket on his head, which causes the game to just go nuts. From the sluggish music to the sluggish gameplay, it's like Popeye is brought to you by Xanax. Nothing like an ether-soaked rag in a room full of carbon dioxide to jazz up game night. Maybe this game is meant to be like Popeye's Nightmare, where he moves like he's underwater. And all the levels are here. To be fair, the game looks like it plays actually pretty good. And in the ship stage, the odd decision to use a font that doesn't have a proper looking capital L, so Olive is screaming, "Hype!" Or maybe she's yelling, "Capital H, capital E, lowercase l, capital P, Popeye." We'll never know. The Odyssey 2 version of Popeye makes Tiger handhelds look like the PS6. My God, there's a lot to unpack here. The Odyssey 2 game is the absolute definition of we have Popeye at home, because if you did own this game, well, obviously your parents didn't love you. Hey, I'm sorry. Not everyone is meant to receive love. All right, here come the comments. I'm kidding, but not about this game. If an undiscovered civilization managed to get their hands on electricity and an Odyssey 2 development kit and program this version and showed it to me, I'd be like, really, fellas? That's the best you could do? Much like the Odyssey 2, the Apple II Popeye is a reimagining of the arcade game if the esoteric concepts of happiness, love, and entertainment hadn't been invented yet. The ear-splitting noise that erupts when Popeye nabs spinach makes hurricane alerts across the TV seem like new-age relaxation music by comparison. like its arcade counterpart. Collecting hearts and musical notes are the goals of the levels, and there are ladders and Brutus and magically appearing projectiles. I guess the core concept is there, but as Ralph would say,
still funny, but not ha-ha funny.
You got that right, kid. Released 4 years later than the arcade game, and a few years after some of the home versions I've looked at, the NES version debuted in '86 and is a shining example of loving the Popeye you have at home. And of course, why shouldn't it be great? I mean, it'd look pretty bad for Nintendo if the port of their own game totally sucked. The ability to climb up the ladder in Stage 1 is a nice little added bonus that the arcade version didn't have. But there are a couple of oddities, such as the small sprite used for Popeye and the fact that Wimpy is MIA on Stage 2. Other than that, the gameplay is fast-paced and tight, and Brutus is as nasty here as he is in the coin-op. In fact, the only thing missing from the arcade experience is the local drug dealer harassing you to buy pot every 3 minutes, and the sweaty guy in the undershirt behind the change counter wondering where his life went. Released on the PS4 and Nintendo Switch, this 3D realized upgrade,
mockery of a sham, a mockery of a travesty of two mockeries of a sham.
No matter what you think of some of the home versions we've looked at here today, this updated version is completely devoid of any heart or soul, and it's amazing to me that over 40 years ago, King Syndicate Features said no to Nintendo, who had some expertise under their belts and had been around for almost 100 years at that point, but in 2022, they'll greenlight this unholy abortion of coding? Man, you have been warned. I spent the $18 so you don't have to. And I knew it was gonna suck. Ah, Brutus, you cheap son of a... All right, well, on that note, that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you aren't retro gaming, what are you doing? See you next time, friends.
A winner is you. Productions.